Hey geometry people, welcome to chapter 3 section 7 where we're talking about equations of lines in the coordinate plane, and we're going to start off by talking about slope. What's important about slope, of course, is it's the steepness of the line. I know everybody's favorite definition is rise over run. It's also change in y over change in x. And then the variable we use for slope is m. When we calculate slope, we take the change in y over the change in x, and to do that, we take 2 points that are on the line, and then we use this equation, which I'm going to go ahead and box in here. This is the equation we use to calculate the slope. Be careful, some common mistakes are to put the x's in the numerator, but again, the x's need to be in the denominator. Also, notice that we need consistency. Either set of points can be called x1, y1, or x2, y2, but once you've decided to use the y from the second point, you must use the x from the second point first in the denominator. Otherwise, your slope will have the wrong sign. Okay? Some pictures here of what it looks like to have a line that has a positive slope, a line that has a negative slope. A zero slope line is going to be a horizontal line, and a line with an undefined slope is going to be a vertical line. Okay, and again, that slope ends up being undefined because there is no change in x happening as you move from point to point on your line, and therefore you are dividing by 0, and it's impossible to divide by 0. Okay, we're moving on to page 2. Okay, on page 2, we're talking about equations of lines for horizontal and vertical lines. Once again, horizontal and vertical lines are special. They each have their own individual equations. So for horizontal lines, we're going to have a slope equal to 0. We just saw that on the previous page. Also, the equation will always be y equals a number. So in this picture, for example, I've done y equals 4. It's a horizontal line. All the points on that line will have y coordinate equal to 4, and as you move, the x coordinate will change. For vertical lines, and let's go ahead and highlight that, y equals a number. For vertical lines, again, it's highlighted now. For vertical lines, you'll have undefined slope. We just talked about that in the previous page. Your equation will always be x equals a number. And for example, I chose x equals -3, so you can see over here we have the vertical line x equals -3. All right, so that's about all you need to know for horizontal and vertical lines right now. Next page. Okay, we're on the third page of the chapter 3 section 7 handout, and as you can see at the top of the page, we're now going to be talking about lines that are non-vertical, non-horizontal, your average everyday line. And we're looking at two forms for the equation of the line. The first is called point slope. And again, y minus y1 will equal m minus times the quantity x minus x1. Do notice that minus is part of the equation for both the x's and the y's. Also notice that it only takes 1 point to write the equation of this line, and of course the slope. This x and this y will remain as they are so that you can find other values for points on your line. The second form is slope-intercept. Y equals mx plus b. Again, m is the slope, and your y-intercept will have coordinates 0, b. Do keep in mind that a y-intercept, again, is the point where the line intersects the y-axis. Okay? And by the same token, an x-intercept will be the point where the line intersects the x-axis. So, again, second form, y equals mx plus 3. Now, hopefully, both of these equations are equations that you are familiar with and have worked with in Algebra 1. So again, these are going to be very important to you. So make sure they're highlighted so you can find them. Okay, some examples that are on this page. This is very important. Given the equation of the line, find the slope and a point on the line. So we go ahead and we read this. And again, minus is part of the equation. So let's start with the easy one, our slope. And we are in point slope form here. Our slope is 3. And again, that number is right there in front for us to see. And then the x-coordinate of my point is the number that follows the minus sign. So that's going to turn out to be a 2. And then the y-coordinate of my point is the number that follows the minus sign, and that would be 5. Be careful, it's really common to write this point backwards because we're used to the first number writing it first and the second number writing it second, even though we know x's come first when we write a point. Okay, so take a second, and in this second one, what will the slope be and what will the point be? Ha, fooled you. I only wrote part of the answer. Okay, so for the other part, x again, the number we have here following the minus sign is a 1. So that's our x-coordinate. But then we look here, and you'll notice that I don't have a minus sign anymore. But you should have learned in pre-algebra that plus 4 is really minus a negative 4. And so when we see a plus sign, the number we want is actually the opposite of what we see. And so our y-coordinate turns out to be negative 4. I recommend you take a second and write the slope and point for the next example. Okay, we're going to move down to example 2b, where we're asked to find the slope of the line. So when you're given a graph, the way that we're going to find the slope is usually by counting. So I'm going to start here at this point, which is at -1, -2, -3, 0. And then I'm going to count what I had to do to get to this point, which is 0, 1. So I had a rise of 1 unit and a run of 3 units to get there. So a rise of 1 and a run of 3. And that would tell us that our slope here is 1/3. So again, I recommend you try 2A, and we're moving on to page 4. Okay, on page 4, we're looking at example 3B, and we are going to sketch a graph of this line. So, first of all, which form is this equation in? If you guess slope-intercept, you are correct. So, because it's in slope-intercept form, I know that the slope is -2/3, and my y-intercept is at the point 0, 4. So, knowing that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to graph my y-intercept of 0, 4. You should also label that point 0, 4. Now, my rise over run for my slope is -2/3. So when I look at that, it's your choice. You can choose to look at it as a rise of -2, a run of +3. Or if you want to, you can look at it as a rise of +2 and a run of -3. I'm going to go ahead and go with a rise of -2 and a run of +3. So there's our rise -2 and our run +3. And that's going to put us right here, which is at the point 3, 2. 2 points make a line, so I just go ahead and take my straight edge and always use a straight edge to draw a line. and I draw my line of y equals negative 2/3 x plus 4. All right, we're going to move on to example D. In example D, which form are we in? If you said point slope, you are correct. So reading this, we see that our slope is 2, and the point that the line is passing through is going to be, go ahead, you know it, just go ahead and say it. That's right, it's negative 3, 1. So once again, we're going to graph that point and count out our slope and make our graph, so try it on your own. Okay, so with a slope of 2, again, our rise will be 2, our run will be 1. So I went ahead and did that, and that puts us at negative 2, 3, and then I went ahead and used my straight edge to draw that line. Okay, we're moving on to page 5. Okay, on page 5, we are looking at number 4a, and it's asking us to write the equation of line that has slope 4 and y-intercept negative 5. Well, since they gave us the slope and they gave us the y-intercept, our best choice is slope-intercept. And as you recall, that's y equals mx plus b. So we're going to go ahead and say y equals, well, m is our slope, so we're going to insert a 4. X, and then b is our y-intercept, and that's a negative 5, so we end up with y equals 4x minus 5. In the second example, we're being given the slope, awesome, and this time we're being told just a random point that's on the line. So, which of our two forms is the best choice here? That's right, point slope. So, point slope form, a little more complicated, is going to be y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. As I said previously, this y is going to stay exactly as it is, y. For y1, we take a look, our y value is minus 5, so minus a negative 5 becomes a plus 5. Our slope is negative 2, fill that in, and then our x's, our x1 is a 3, so it's going to become a minus 3. And we've written the equation of the line. Thank you. So moving on to number 5, at the bottom of the page, we're being asked to find the equations of the horizontal and vertical lines that pass through the point 3, negative 7. So I'm going to do a quick sketch. And 3, negative 7 would be somewhere down here. So picture, if you will, a vertical line passing through there and a horizontal line passing through there. So again, vertical, or let's start with the horizontal. Horizontal lines are always y equals a number. So if you want to pass through 3, negative 7, y would equal negative 7. Vertical lines are always x equals a number. And again, if you want to pass through that point, x would have to equal 3. And that's the end of that, and that wraps up this video. I will see you in geometry class, and we'll work on more examples. Have a great day.